Everybody loves a good pancake, and I'm super excited to share our favorite sourdough Dutch baby recipe with you, which is a little bit different than the regular American pancakes. It's also called a German pancake, but what I'm really excited about is that from there it is only one more step to make a very famous Bavarian Austrian dessert, or you could also have it for breakfast with that Dutch baby. I always like to start with a really active sourdough starter. And in this jar, I have a little bit of leftover starter from a previous recipe. To that, I'm just adding very little water and a little bit of flour. So really, I'm just making a little bit of starter, and you'll see in a moment why. I don't measure anything. I just go by feel. And if it needs a little bit more of one or the other, flour or water, I add that. But I'm looking for a thick consistency and just a little bit. And I like to use my hands to scrape the fork off, and it also gets some good bacteria from my fingers. I put the lid on and let that sit overnight. The next morning, I have a pretty active starter that I'm trying to show you here with good big bubbles. And to that, I'm actually adding a little bit more water, because in total I need about 1¾ to 2 cups of sourdough starter. And again, I'm not measuring anything, I'm not weighing anything. I am just going by feel, and with years of experience, I think anybody can get there. That's why I feel confident that I don't need to measure anything. So I'm adding a little bit more flour and water, and I think at this point I need a little bit more, because yes, it will rise, and I'm accounting for that. So even the total volume right now is not going to be up to the top of the pint-sized jar, which is about 2 cups of sourdough starter. So again, it's like a lot of rule of thumb and just eyeballing, but I'm adding a little bit more of water and flour and mix that up. And that will give me a really super active sourdough starter, which is what I'm going for this recipe, because as you will see, I'm not adding any baking powder or other leavening to my sourdough Dutch baby. Again, here it is. Put a lid on and let that sit in a warm spot for about 4 hours. When I'm ready to make the sourdough Dutch baby, I am cracking my eggs and separating the egg whites from the egg yolks. And there's really no fast way to do this. And as I'm going over and watching this, I realized that it was a day with a lot of clouds in the sky. So if you feel like the light is going in and out of this kitchen, it actually is, because the sun is hiding behind the clouds. And I just thought, you know what, I'll just leave it like that and give you the experience that I had. Anyhow, I am continuing cracking my eggs, 6 in total. I love using eggs from free-range pasture-raised chickens, because the egg yolk is just so dark orange. And if you ever compare it to those pale yellow egg yolks from chickens that live in chicken batteries or egg batteries, then you know what I'm talking about. And these are really healthy chickens that give me very good, nutritious eggs that I'm using as a base for my recipe here. The bowl that I have here, the white one, is actually for whipping up cream, but it works just as well for whipping up egg whites, which is what I'm going to do in just a moment. My handheld egg beater, I always love that, because it gives me a little bit more control than using my big KitchenAid that I have sitting in the back in the corner there. And I'm going to go ahead and whip the egg whites. Contrary to, let's say, whipped cream, you cannot over whip egg whites, and you just have to be patient here and just keep on going. I'm not recording all of it, I'm just walking you through it, but I want them really stiff. And you can see that my egg beaters are standing up, and I basically took them out to show you how stiff my egg whites are. Now I need to carefully put them back into my electric mixer so that I can continue with my recipe. Over in that other bowl with the egg yolks, I am adding, and this is almost about 2 cups of sourdough starter right here. So I'm adding that, and you'll see in a moment that I will leave just a little bit of starter in there. I'm not scraping my jar because that can often be the basis for my next sourdough starter, and it just goes back into the refrigerator. I'm adding some milk. Often I add buttermilk if I've just made fresh butter and I have some buttermilk, and then I have some melted butter because it really helps this recipe if you add some fat for both the taste and the consistency. And again, queen of eyeballing, which I'm what I'm calling myself, I'm adding just about a tablespoon or so of maple syrup. I don't want this to taste sweet. I just want it not have a bland taste, but just a touch of sweetness. So I'm mixing that up. I'm gonna go get a spoon and add my whipped egg whites, very stiff, to my base mixture. And at this point, I thought I would use my handheld mixer to incorporate the egg whites into my egg yolk base, but then I decided that I was just going to use my spoon because I really want to only fold it in and not mix it. And that's why you'll see me removing my handheld mixer here. So I gently fold the beaten egg whites, stiff egg whites, into the batter. It's very light and fluffy, and again, this recipe doesn't use any baking powder, any baking soda at all, and it won't need it, which you will see later. Over my stove, I'm heating 2 cast iron pans with a lot of butter, and I want to melt the butter, checking that my oven is turned on. And once the skillets are really hot, I will pour the batter into the skillets. I might have gone with somewhat bigger skillets, but it doesn't matter so much for my second recipe. And again, it's just a matter of how high you want them or how thin you want them. And I think I'm okay with these sizes that I chose when I was recording this video for you. Trying to spread the batter evenly between the 2 skillets. Here you can see that the Dutch baby is already cooking on the sides. I just want to give it a little bit of a jump start, and then I'm putting them into my 425-degree hot oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. When that's done, I'm removing them from the oven, and as you can see, they puffed up so nicely, dome-shaped in the middle. I have a slightly bigger skillet and a slightly smaller skillet, and now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the slightly smaller one, because that Dutch baby in the background and the bigger one we're going to leave there and let it deflate just a little bit to get that distinct look of a Dutch baby. And this one is a famous Bavarian Austrian dessert. It's called Kaiserschmarrn in German. I'm not expecting you to be able to pronounce it. I spelled it for you earlier in this video in the intro. However, it is essentially a torn pancake, and I love making a sourdough version of it because it's just so much healthier and it adds that complexity to the flavor. As you can see, I've torn it into bits and pieces, and my cast iron skillet is still really hot from the oven. And I'll return half of that, mix it around. You can't really see it so much or hear it so much in this video. However, those pieces are cooking slightly a little bit more because the Dutch babies are really soft and almost a little bit not undercooked on the inside. For extra flavor and sweetness, I'm adding some raisins, and now I'm adding the rest of that Dutch baby to my hot skillet and mix it around to just cook it a little bit more. When I'm ready to serve, I am sprinkling powdered sugar over it. First of all, it just looks really neat, and then secondly, it gives it just a little bit of sweetness, because remember that these are not very sweet. For my sourdough Dutch baby, I'm adding some blueberries. You can see that the edges are still nice and high, and the middle has sunk in a little bit. And then some raspberries. You can use applesauce, you can use caramelized apple slices, you can use fruit compote or jam, you can do whatever you want, or just maple syrup. And then again, because it looks so pretty, a sprinkling of white sugar. If waffles are more your thing, I have a video over here in which I'm showing you how I make a sourdough waffle in a cast iron waffle maker. Thank you so much for watching and joining me in my kitchen. I'll see you over in that video.